Today was day 17 of the Karen Read trial. I'm going to give you my daily recap. And if you hear a ton of children or people in the background, it's because I'm in Florida right now with my family and we're all staying in the same house and it's just a lot. To start day 17 off, we have a new ID documentary clip, which we are not surprised about because we've been hearing a lot about the glass that was on the bumper of Karen Read's SUV. And it is the ID clip where Karen Read says that when she found John, there was a piece of glass embedded in the side of his nose. She pulled it out and he started bleeding from there. Andre Porto is the next witness. He works for the Mass State Crime Lab. He is a forensic scientist too. Lally is doing the questioning and he is answering so quickly that the judge and the court reporter multiple times have to ask him to slow down. He analyzes the DNA samples and he is going to do the DNA analysis process on all of the samples from the passenger taillight, from the clothing, etc. This was very long and tedious and scientific, but just to go through everything, the DNA profile from the taillight included a mixture of 3 contributors, including male DNA, which meant it was John O'Keefe and 2 unknown individuals. Basically, there's all kinds of numbers that are explained with that, but it was John plus 2 unknown male individuals. John O'Keefe's hoodie was tested and there was DNA from himself and 1 other individual. And a stain on the jeans was tested. It was John O'Keefe plus 3 unknown individuals. The shoes came back with 5 or more DNA profiles. So once there's 5 or more, they're not able to come up with a conclusion. The piece of glass had John O'Keefe plus 2 unknown individuals. And the t-shirt just had John O'Keefe's DNA. They did DNA testing on the hair and they could not detect any human DNA on the hair, or it was under the value that could be detected. The fingernails were tested both from the right and left hands, and it was a single source, just John O'Keefe's DNA. There's a whole karaoke set up right outside my bedroom, so I can hear the kids starting to do karaoke. David Yannetti is going to do the cross-examination for this witness, and he goes over each individual item and they're numbered and it's very confusing, but essentially he is saying so there were 2 more males found on this, or 2 more DNA profiles. Was Kevin Albert tested? Was Kenneth Berkowitz tested? No. And the witness says that they don't know. It could be anybody's DNA on those items. The next witness is Ashley Vallier, I believe, is how you say her name, and she works for the Mass State Crime Lab. She assembled the taillight back together and analyzed all the taillight pieces. We did see her in the first trial. All of the pieces are entered into evidence. Again, super tedious process. She opens up a bunch of different packages and they include little pieces like this when they were found and entered into evidence. Here's the next one. More taillight. There's a piece of clear plastic here. She mentions that everything appears to be apparent plastic. There wasn't any testing done on glass, but she also doesn't test to see if it is glass, so they call it apparent plastic. And here is more of the plastic. This is what it looked like in the Mass State Crime Lab. So all of the pieces are entered into evidence, and then she explains that some of the pieces fit together that were in the packaging together, and then eventually she is able to assemble the majority of those pieces together to make this, and there is a little piece here missing on the taillight that will get brought up on the cross-exam. Court goes on break, and during the break, Alessi is continuing the argument for the aperture reporting that they received on May 11th. He brings up the fact that Jennifer McCabe testified that she saw a vehicle at 12:45 that would have changed their cross-examination if they had this information. He also brings up the decision to not cross-examine Garino and says that he would have potentially done that if he had this evidence. And then the Commonwealth is saying that this is actually not new information. This was just in the report. This is just a new understanding of that information. So everyone is left confused as to why Aperture has provided this report. The judge says that she will make a ruling on this today. So the jury comes back from their break and Ashley Vallier is still being questioned. She gets on cross-exam by Yannetti and he questions who turned in the pieces to the crime lab and she says it was Michael Proctor. Then he asked Vallier if there was a piece missing when she assembled all of it, and we know, yes, there was a piece missing. He wants to know if she was aware that there was a collision at 1 Meadows Avenue with another vehicle, and there's an objection. We don't get the answer to that. And then the jury leaves for the day. We're going to get Bev's ruling on the Aperture report. She says that the jury can hear all of the new evidence from this new report that was provided on May 8th or May 11th. And she is not going to limit the scope for cross-examination either. And the defense will have the opportunity to recall any of those witnesses if they decide to do so. And I feel like we get to a point in the trial where a lot of jurors potentially have their mind made up, and just to drag this out even further is ridiculous. But essentially, Bev's ruling could have been that she would have had a voir dire with, a hearing without the jury present for the witnesses. And she says, we're not going to do that. We're not wasting that time. You can bring it up. The cross-examination by the defense will not get limited at all. So could be a mess. I also want to correct something from yesterday that was corrected today in court in front of the jury. They did one of these things where it's kind of like both sides, the defense and the Commonwealth, have agreed to this, so they stated in front of the jury that this is not actually Trooper Proctor, so I was wrong. This is the morgue during the autopsy. This is Connor Keefe on the left, and on the right, I believe his name is Trooper Watson. And Connor Keefe did testify on day 11 that he attended it on his own, but we see here from the picture that there was somebody else, but it's not Trooper Proctor, so he makes that clear to the jury. And then the jury is dismissed for the day, and that is the end of court. So that's all we have for day 17. Monday, we'll be back with day 18. And this is what I'm gonna be dealing with out here in the living room, right outside my bedroom. Oh my gosh. Here we go. Wish me luck.